What is going on, everybody? It is the Money Match Gaming podcast. I am part of your co-host team, The Infinite. Right to my technically, it's like, I guess, it's still my left. Yeah. The left, my good old co-host, Dan Estrata, my guy. It's a little in the, like, mix there, but that's part of the plan.
Our hands are in the ether, touching each other. You just can't.
Yeah, that's how you got to do it.
That's your fault, not ours.
All right. Kind of goes with today's theme a little bit,
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Dan. I am part of the Money Match Gaming podcast talk show extravaganza spectacular, what this is. And today we are talking about, a couple, I think it was last week, we talked about one of my favorite movies from 2016, 17. Today we're talking about one of my favorite movies from 2018. That would be Spider-Man. And by one of my favorite, I mean definitely 100% my favorite movie of that year. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So excited to talk about this. So good, but we'll get to that later. This movie is starring so many people. You have Shameik Moore as Miles. You have Jake Johnson as Sweatpants Spider-Man. You have Hailee Steinfeld as Spider-Gwen. You have Mahershala Ali as Prowler. You have Brian Tyree Henry, I believe his name is, as Miles' dad. You have Chris Pine as OG Spider-Man. You have Nick Cage as Spider-Noir. Like, the list goes on and on. John Mulaney, Spider-Ham. Like, such a good cast for this movie. And it was nominated and won Best Animated Movie in the Oscars this year. So it's got that going for it. It's the first movie since Rango in 2011 to not be a Disney or Pixar movie to win that category. So that's also kind of impressive. But yeah, you want to give us a little synopsis?
Sure, let's give it a go. So let's start. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a 2018 American computer animated superhero film based on Marvel Comics character Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man. Produced by Columbia Pictures and Sony Pictures in association with Marvel and distributed by Sony Pictures Release. It is the first animated feature film in the Spider-Man franchise. And it is set in a shared multiverse called the Spider-Verse, which has alternate universes. The film was directed by Bob Persichetti? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Like, sometimes and you're like,
not entirely sure.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Right? Maybe.
Yeah. And Peter Ramsey and Rodney Rothman for screenplay by Phil Lord.
Chris Miller, Phil Lord. You may know them from the 21 Jump Street movies as well as the Lego movies. They did that as well.
And Rothman and the story by Lord and the stars of the voices he already went through. Blah 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 blah. And it says, in the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales becomes one of the many Spider-Man as they team up to save New York from Kingpin. Bam, bam, done.
Oh, cool. That's another thing. Liev Schreiber is Kingpin. Fucking, he did awesome. God, everyone. All right. Let's start with opinions, as always. Just general consensus.
I think it's on me. And
no, I think you did last time.
Okay. Yeah, it's cool.
But it doesn't really matter. You can go first if you want. I just say whatever after we give our opinions. I think we should go cons because I think cons will be rather light, and then we're just gonna gush about the movie for like 45 minutes. So, yeah. So I opinion of the movie. It's incredible. It is, if not my favorite movie, in the top 3 already. Like, I love this movie. I'm so happy that I got it in like the 4K version because it looks amazing, and it's just so impressively. Everything about this movie is impressively good and way better than it had to be or should have been, but it is as good as it is, which kind of puts everything else on a very high pedestal for like the rest of ever, because it's going to be hard for something to connect with me the way that this movie did the first time I saw it, and even still the 6th or 7th time I've watched it.
Simply put, it was fantastic. And quite frankly, that sums it up. You really don't need to say anything. You know, and it's like, like we could go ahead and go into the cons. I don't have any. That should let you know.
The only con I have one, and it's very minor, because it doesn't really bother you after like the first 10 minutes of the movie. But early on in the movie, there's a couple scenes where, because of the way it's animated, the background is a little blurry. But that's it. That's the only, like, a couple times I'm like, oh, it's hard. I feel like this is supposed to be a 3D movie, but it's not. And that's it. After that point, like, I was just like, yeah, that's it. That's the only issue I've ever had. Granted, I did see the movie in 3D the first couple times, so I was just like, oh, this is in 3D. And then I saw it in regular D once, and I was like, oh, it just looks a little blurry in the background. Okay, well, that's just because of how it's formatted. It's not a terrible thing. It's nothing like egregious. So, and you said you had no cons?
No, none.
All right, well then let's go right into the good stuff.
This is a movie you're only supposed to gush about. You're not supposed to go, well, you know, I'll just crank up the bass a little bit. Like, no, actually, no. Like, stop.
No, yeah, exactly.
It's like, please, just quit. Like, you're killing me, Smalls. Like, you could go on those catchphrases forever, and this is just a great movie. I'll start with the lighter stuff. First off, I really enjoyed the animation. Like, I don't know how you watch this movie and go, where was this my entire life? Like, why haven't you guys been animating movies this way since forever?
This is a unique animation style. So unique to the point where I believe Sony actually trademarked it, so that they kind of own the right to animate movies like this, and it's so cool.
Fantastic!
Like
man.
You want to talk about like jumping straight into the pages of a comic book? Like, this does it, down to like the cell shade, you know, the little dots that things are shaded with, because that's how comics were done. Even at the very beginning, like just when they're going through the people who make the movie, like the Columbia Pictures and Sony Animation, like. I sat in the seat in the theater when I first saw this movie, and when they were just going through that, and like the sound in the background, like the music is starting to pick up, and it's just like, and like all like the logos just keep changing, but are still the same logo. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is the best thing. Like, nothing has even happened, and I'm already 100% in on this.
Like, I was kind of hurt that you were like, oh yeah, there's that small part to where, you know, like it was a little blurry. I was kind of like, I kind of wanted to hit you. Like, you can stop.
No,
man.
like, look, that's it. It was very minimal. Like, it is the smallest thing, and it's only for like the first like 5 minutes of the movie where it's really noticeable, because your eyes are so not accustomed to this kind of animation and the way everything is shot, that the background does look a little blurry. But once you get used to it, once your eyes get accustomed to it, it becomes a non-factor in the movie at all. And it's because nothing can bring this movie down.
It's fantastic. Like, yeah. It's just great. Like, and then kind of like some of the more subtle things. It's like, I couldn't believe how well the music fit.
Right. That's another thing I have. Surprisingly good soundtrack. Because like the soundtrack itself, I listen to it every now and again. There's some songs that are like pretty good that I would listen to every now and again. But a lot of it is just like not really my cup of tea. But the way everything works, I've dropped my pen. The way everything works in this movie is just, oh, so good. Just
fantastic.
Like,
man. Like, there's like,
this put Post Malone on another level for me, and you don't even hear his parts of the song.
It did. I listen to Sunflower now.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good jam.
I was like, man, what is this song? Oh, I like it now. Oh, I didn't know, but now I know. Now I'm accustomed. Now I have to love it just because of this movie, and like how they incorporated it in the movie and stuff like that. And it's just like,
and it fits. It fits so well. Like, everything fits so good.
So, you know, yeah. And so that's pretty much the light things. The other things are just kind of like more Actually, there's one more light thing. I love the quick comic book drop origin stories.
Yeah, those are great.
Something about
One last
that.
time. Let's just hit him for this one last time, and then go the whole story.
Something about that is just, it was just perfect. Like I've never felt so not inconvenienced in those types of situations ever. It went so well with the movie, and they did such a good job doing them that, like,
it didn't bother you that they were all relatively the same. But one really cool thing about that, since you brought those up, which I didn't notice the first time around, but started picking up on later, all the comic books, when they first show them, it has who it's originally written by on the comic book as well. Like whoever created that character, whoever first penned that series, it has their like written by blah 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 blah. So that's how I found things like the Penny Parker story. Hers is written by Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, which I didn't know that, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and so like it's just so well done, and like my brain's still kind of consuming it, to be honest, to where it's like I'm having trouble picking out what I loved about the movie the most. So like you're like, it's 45 minutes of gushing, but I was kind of like, I'm still processing it, to be honest. I'm still going through the scenes and like what I truly did like about it, but let's just jump straight into it, to be honest. And like this iteration of Spider-Man is like, it's the truth. It's just I finally get the spirit of Spider-Man. We talk about it I talk about it all the time, the spirit of things, what they like manifest and express themselves to the world about. This movie made so much sense. It really brought all that of like what Spider-Man actually is to the forefront. Now I used to listen to I did listen to a few Stan Lee's like explanations of how he created the characters and what did he want the audience to feel when they watched Spider-Man. None of the old ones did that for me, but this one did such a great job of making Spider-Man as humanly possible. Usually when I'm watching when I'm watching hero movies in general, I can't relate. No, dude, you're just kind of epic, bro. You're just epic. But like Spider-Man, and I can start seeing the threads that he was threading. He always gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. No.
It doesn't matter who he's fighting. It
It's
doesn't
just
matter
about getting back up.
It doesn't matter the kind of what the other guy has. He's always kind of getting bopped, And it's not just about him getting bopped or beat up. He always does it with a smile. And his uniform could be ripped. Part of his face could be showing. He could be literally at the point of exhaustion. He does it with this kind of cheery, happy-go-lucky, smile.
I feel like that's best, not even just with the Miles Spider-Man, but even going back to the Chris Pine Spider-Man, like even while he's dying, like essentially just sitting there dying, he's cracking jokes about it.
Right. And he knows it's coming. Yeah. And he just wholeheartedly just accepts his decisions and he just lives his life. And it kind of bleeds into his story because again, I had such a hard time connecting with the older Spider-Mans, but this one, Dan, they even humanize the villains. All the villains are human too. It's so amazing, how well it's designed and how it's been going over my head this entire time. And maybe because I've only seen bits and pieces of Spider-Man, but all his enemies are extremely, extremely, extremely human.
The only one that really doesn't get enough kind of time to go over is Scorpion.
Yeah, that was the only one I was gonna say.
Yeah, they don't really delve into him too much, and Tombstone, I guess, but Tombstone's really just kind of there as a punching bag. But you see Dr. Octavius, and even before we meet her as Dr. Octavius, if you rewatch the first scene when he comes into class late, and he makes the bad joke about Einstein and Gwen laughs at it, they're watching on the projector a thing that is narrated by Dr. Octavius. You see her on the projector and stuff, and they like you said, Kingpin is so human. Like, just all he wants is his family. That's all he cares about. One track mind is on his family, good or for good or for bad. It's like the one human part of him is his connection with his family. And then you have Prowler, who we'll talk about later, I'm sure too, but just his connection and his real side and stuff like that. Yeah. The only one that really doesn't get any time is Scorpion.
Right, and it's like that scene was actually really beautiful. Like I just enjoyed it, and it's like, like I just did see like this movie is like has these weird like in-depth let me give you a look at your soul, to where it's like this is what's really going on in real life, like like his dad and his uncle Aaron both understand what the other's doing. And then like they get it. They know like it's not perfect and it's not this perfect box that they want to fit things in. They love each other, but they just know that
they're on different paths.
Yeah, and they're in this complicated situation and it just is what it is. And they love each other anyway, and so it was like this weird experience when he died. And again, we do spoil the movie. We do talk about details of the movie. We sometimes forget to say it at the beginning, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we are gonna talk about it.
Like when he died, like, and he just looked the man in his eyes and he's like, "Look, I didn't want you to see me this way, but like, life's got me here, and here's where I am. This is who I am, and just know that I'm glad that you're the better version of me and your dad." And I thought that was kind of like really kind of very human-like, very American, right, yeah, for sure, to where it's like all about passing on the good stuff to,
yeah,
the next generation. And every interaction that you have with Uncle Aaron and Miles, you're kind of sitting there and you're like, man, like he had his issues for sure, but like he is so damn human. Like, he loved his family. He loved his brother, and he probably loved his city. It's just being broke's not fun,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, like, even going off of that, this is not necessarily the same point, but going off of that specific scene, one thing that's really interesting about this movie, and you do not see in a lot of movies, which I didn't realize until I was reading things and hearing people talk about it, is the vulnerability shown on a black male character. That is not common. You do not see in movies black men feeling that emotional and that vulnerable to where how Miles' dad felt, or even how Miles felt, or even how Uncle Aaron, when he was dying, when he was choking up and crying. Like, that's not something that's very common seen on the screen. So I think that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, I would have never thought about that. And so that like kind of bleeds into like the other thing, which is just like, this movie's just about life, man. Spider-Man itself is just the embodiment of what life is. Life doesn't fit in a box. It's always filled with failures, disappointment, confusion, joy, growth, and there's a bit of hero mixed in all that whole junk. And it's like, it's just one of those things that like is kind of reiterated with the Peter Parker. I don't know which one it is, but it's basically the role model, per se. The original iteration of Spider-Man, to where you're kind of sitting there and his life's a mess. It's just a mess. And
Crying in the shower.
Yeah,
not solving crimes anymore.
And then
getting kind of heavy. But you know what? Hey, I like that Spider-Man because I was like, oh, well, that makes me feel like I could be Spider-Man.
Well, that's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone can wear the mask.
Yeah. Technically, you are Spider-Man in the sense that they're trying to portray it. Like, I always got distracted by the bells and whistles, but like now I understand what he means. Is like, I'm actually trying to show you that everybody goes through this. Everybody goes through those struggles. Everybody gets knocked down. And it's like, it's the ones that smile and get back up are the ones that typically have the better life, who enjoy what they do. Like even the whole him showing Spider-Man dancing in New York, and he's like, oh, we don't talk about that. That's him like kind of gloating that he's himself. Like, I'm quirky, okay? Like it is like, and it's like, it's such a beautiful scene because like as it's actually happening, everybody's ignoring him, and it's like that's really how life actually is. Just be yourself, and most people don't give a damn.
Well, you know that's like a call to Spider-Man 3, yeah?
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
But it's a joke, but it also plays into, again, the spirit of Spider-Man, and I just never saw it. You know, I just never really, it never clicked the way it clicked when I watched this movie, to where it's like, no, actually, he's trying to show you himself in all his glory, and yeah, he saves people from crime. He does nice things. He makes people laugh. He engages in all these different types of things. But in reality, he's human just like you, and he might have these amazing gifts, but the best one is always getting up and doing it with the best kind of smile you possibly can. You know, and it's awesome. You know, like can't really be mad at it. You know,
for sure.
But, you know, I'm kind of curious because I don't know how you feel about it. Like, how did you feel about the first Spider-Man dying? Like, did that make you feel some type of way?
Yeah, kind of, because, like, I was expecting it because I didn't see him in any of the trailers, sort of. But I also wasn't expecting it because I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this makes sense. Like, this is the Spider-Man that's going to teach him, and then he'll connect with all the other Spider-Mans later or something of that nature. But I did feel something because it was like almost like a part of, and thanks for the follow, by the way. It was like, because that character to me was like the Spider-Man, because just from his backstory, it felt like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in a sense. So I was like, damn, like that was the Spider-Man I grew up with dying. And the way that the whole world reacted to it, I kind of felt similar, where it was like, oh shit, like that's our boy. Like, what do we like that? That's so sad. Like this is our guy, and he's just gone now. But yeah, so I felt something, but it wasn't like, you know, being that I knew it was a movie and I knew there was about to be mad other Spider people. I was just like, let's get to the rest of the Spider boys, you know, and girls, because Spider-Gwen was awesome as well.
I was really sad. Like, I don't like, but you know, to a degree, you know, after talking about it and stuff, like I can't help it. Like, that's just kind of who I am. I'm kind of a philosophical person, you know. I like to think, and for me, it really felt like that was the perfect Spider-Man, the perfect version of all the Spider-Mans.
Definitely. Especially when you look at the way that, you know, the other Peter Parker that you meet is, you know, where his life is kind of a mess and it's like 10 years in the future, and everything that the Spider-Man of Miles' universe had was like exponentially better. His life was better, his relationship was better, his schooling was better, his lair was better,
his connection with his grandma,
right? Everything was better.
Was better. It just
everything.
Yeah, it was all connected in a very healthy way, and I think they kill him because of that. Like, again, the spirit of Spider-Man is the sloppiness, you know, and you know it, and like, it's like usually selflessness doesn't make me cringe that way, but that was such a cringy moment for me. Not to say that it's like embarrassing or shameful. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good, and it's so hard to make me feel things in a movie. And then that's like the biggest reason why I'm bringing it up is just like we have like zero connection with that Spider-Man. Yeah, it just felt terrible that he died. It felt terrible that it was like brief and kind of just poof, gone. Yeah, poof. You know, we don't get to meet him. You know, we don't get to meet perfect Spider-Man. You know, we don't get to piece his life together in a way.
Mm-hmm. And all we get is his intro comic book.
Right, which just makes me feel a little robbed to a degree. And again, I'm mainly just mentioning it just because it did make me feel some type of way, and like, you know, my brain's still processing like why, like just it
I
did
think that's
feel a little bit
reaction,
like grief.
though. Like, you're supposed to, I mean, regardless of which Spider-Man it is, you have that's the Spider-Man you were introduced to at the beginning, and is just like you said, he seemed like the perfect Spider-Man. He was the right one, and then to watch him just get murked real quick, like that. Not only does that make you sad for the Spider-Man, but it builds like a kind of fear for the villain. You know, you're like, oh, this guy means business. Like he just murderized Spider-Man, which a lot of people have tried to do before him and have failed.
I don't know. I just felt some kind of way. It's like, oh God, no. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it's like how I felt, but you know.
I really liked that. I mean, we've had so many different Spider-Man origin stories and so many different Spider-Man stories, period, over the years, that I really enjoyed how this one felt so different, you know? I mean, granted, Miles Morales' story is obviously very different from Peter Parker's story, but that's the point. It feels fresh. It feels new. It doesn't feel like the same thing we've been watching. Like, I've seen so many different origin stories for Spider-Man now, whether it be the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. We kind of got a little bit with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, although his was kind of like a reverse origin story. It was like, why do you wear the suit? More so than it's time for you to wear the suit, you know, kind of thing. But this one was a unique, different story while still feeling very similar. Obviously, all the Spider-Man stories kind of have those parts of them that are the same. A close family member dying, you know, all of them. Even Peter Parker had mentioned that, you know, he had a relative die, which was part of him fully embracing the Spider-Man thing, which I think that's a credit. That's hard to do with something that's been done so much, you know? It's hard to do it well.
Yeah, and they did it perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I mean, like, there's just so much of Spider-Man's story that just encaptures what life actually is, because everybody has that kind of loss. You know,
Yeah.
it's life, man. And it's the ones that pick themselves up, man, that just makes it happen.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's the last thing I have is that there's two big themes in the movie, and I think both of those are very important. And the one that we kind of already touched about earlier is that anyone can wear the mask. And I really like that theme. I think that theme is good for anybody watching it because it tells people, like, listen, you don't have to be Peter Parker, you don't have to be Miles Morales, you don't have to be Spider-Man to be the best you can be, to be the best absolute person you can be, to put everything into what you want to do and make it the best. You can be the hero that everybody needs. I think that's really powerful for just about anyone to hear. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed is that it's just a leap of faith, which is pretty much saying like what everything in life is. It's a leap of faith. You don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. Everything is a mystery. It's just believing in yourself and hoping for the best and doing your damnedest to make sure it's the best. But you don't know how it's going to turn out. No one does. It could go terrible. It could go great. But if you don't try, then what's the point? You're just wasting everyone else's time and your own, you know? And I think those are both really, really good and important messages that come from this movie.
Right, and I would add one. We talked a little bit about it before we started, and it might be a combination of the things that I'm listening to, whether it be the books that I've already listened to or the one I'm listening to now. But this movie just proves that life is complex, man. Yeah. Whether it be universes colliding, because technically I would consider each and every embodiment or each and every human is basically their own universe. They're their own parallel perspectives and their own personal points of view, and we're all kind of colliding together, and that it's just like you just gotta accept that it's just not that simple. And like you mentioned, sure. and tying it into the whole just leap of faith, like we just gotta start making decisions and taking the leaps, because that's what life is. And whether that be, because like it ties in so well with just how human the villains are. Like, I didn't hate anybody in this movie. I didn't feel like Kingpin was the bad guy. It was like such a weird experience.
I mean, obviously I thought he was doing bad things, and but I get where he's coming from, you know? It's like you understand why he's doing things, even if you don't necessarily agree with him. Like, I wouldn't destroy a city to try and bring back people from the dead. But at the same time, I get what it means to lose someone that you care about that much. And then, that everybody's grieving process is different. So I totally understand where he's coming from for that. So to that extent, I agree.
Right. Yeah, and I'm only saying that because like you don't outright hate him. You
Right.
know,
No.
there are very few villains that are actually villains that can pull that off. Like Joker's like, nah, he's a bad guy, but you still like him. And it's like a weird experience, you know, when you really break it down. Like I don't know too many people are like, nah, Joker's trash. Like I'm gonna scratch my head. Well, yeah, you sure? He's sure a bad guy. Yeah, he does a bunch of crazy and wild things, you know, torturing people, raping people, burning people alive, beating people with crowbars. Like, yeah, he's a terrible dude, but can you say you don't like him?
Yeah. I mean, it's the sense of charisma also attached to a lot of characters like that. Like, even a bad character can make you like them by just saying the right things and doing the right things and acting the right way. And you're like, oh, well, I mean, I'm not supposed to like him, but I kind of do.
he ain't that bad.
Yeah.
He ain't that bad. And I was never like the biggest fan of most Spider-Man villains, but when this movie was like over the top, man. Like I might just have to start watching the Miles Morales version of the show.
Oh, yeah, they have Ultimate Spider-Man out with Miles Morales.
Yeah. I might just have to, you know, go ahead and give it a go, man, because this was just that great. Like, and if you haven't got it already, this movie is amazing. It deserved all the praise it got and all the praise that everybody feels like it deserved because it was
should
just
have
an
gotten
awesome
nominated
movie.
for Best Picture. Also, probably should have won, but I would have been happy with the nomination.
Now, technically, you know, in the cinematic universe, like this wouldn't count for like Marvel movies, but to me personally, it's my favorite movie. Easy, hands down, boom.
I mean, as far as superhero movies go, this is my favorite by far. And
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of people
mine
will
easily.
say that it's the best one since the Dark Knight. I love the Dark Knight. I think this is way better, but I've
think
also
he's
thought a
killing
lot of
Batman.
other movies have been better than the Dark Knight. But that's just me personally. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, and that's totally cool. Like, do it. Like my buddy Eric, that's his favorite movie, The Dark Knight. So I'll tell him, I'm like, I like this movie more than The Dark Knight. He'd be like, you're wrong, though. Like, oh well, I mean, it's an opinion, so I'm not, but okay.
Well, no, I think Spider-Verse wins, man.
For me?
I think it works. I think it works.
What did that message say? I couldn't read.
Smurf streaming on his DLive account, and so he's giving this account the lemons, and then you know going off to play with him. We started a new like system. It's like a fight club where you can pay in and stuff like that. So I imagine it's something on those lines. So
all right, cool. Well, thanks for the lemons, bud.
Yeah, thanks anyway, man. We appreciate it. But I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, it's just a great movie. I don't think you can complain about things. You know, I love how he failed throughout the entire process. I guess that's the last thing. I loved it. Like
it took the whole movie for him to realize to just get over himself and just do it. Stop worrying about it. Stop thinking about it. Stop thinking too much into it. Stop beating yourself up. Just do it. Just go and do it. And once he did it, he did a bang up job, and he made a dope suit, like by far, like one of the coolest spider suits.
Dope suit.
That thing is so awesome.
I love the like graffiti, like add on.
Well, because it's his character done so well, like gushing. They did so good, such a good job. It's so perfect. It's so well done that like. Nothing. It wouldn't have made any sense unless he used a suit like that. It's so cool. It's so great.
The very best. So is that it? You know, we ready to go to closings and such?
I guess so. Yeah.
It was fantastic. The same way I started. It was just good. You know, there's really not much more you could say.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that I feel like it's just so unjust to criticize it. It's such a beautiful depiction of art, you know, because like you could this movie's like art. Like, the way it was designed, the way the art was, the way the animation was, the way the story flowed, the way they brought everything together, the way they made all these different characters from all these different universes feel like they were supposed to be there. Like, even if you don't know very much about them, like, I was happy everybody was there. Sometimes you get in that situation to where you're like, should Porky Pig really be there? And it's like, nah, he should. He should. No,
First of all,
no question.
Spider Ham, Peter Porker, not
Technically,
Porky Pig.
I mean, you know what I mean.
No,
though,
yeah,
'cause,
no, but he adopted that kind of personality.
So it's like it was just done so well, and there's really not much to critique other than everybody who made it. Kudos, like, please continue making movies.
Yeah,
like, please. Like, we just need more of your work, man. Whatever magic happened, like, I'm sure the whole time they're making them, oh, this is going to be a good movie. You were damn right. It's a great movie.
I can't wait till it's the future, and I have, like, it's for some reason in this future I did marry and have kids, and they had kids, right? And they'd be like, Pop, what movie did you like? Like, gather around our old 4K TV. We're watching Spider-Man.
Shoot, that good old meme.
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much. Like, that's the future I hope to live, where I'm just dusting off my Spider-Man and 4K TV, because in the future we're just going to be like living in movies. It's like, why would you not even play a character in the movie, you doofus? Why would you just watch something? Like, this is how we did it in my day.
It's how it is.
Grab the Xbox One, honey.
Get it
we
now.
We need to show them the film.
Primitives coming
yeah,
here.
Exactly.
So, what do you rate it, man?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Easy 10 out of 10.
Easy.
Oh, I'm a 5 out of 5 guy, so easy 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's an easy 10 out of 10 movie.
That's 2 10s in a row for you.
I know, and like what
a good month March has been, man.
How I was gonna end it, I was like, man, I gotta go see Us now. I'm so
I heard that movie's really good. I heard it's really good, but I have not seen it yet either. So I will definitely be watching that at some point. However, I think we can hold off on that for a little bit. I'm pretty sure this weekend or this week or next week.
Yeah, it's still. I'm just saying that, like,
we should see Us. I mean, I'm down.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is like, all right, let me go ahead and give it to you. Like, I listened to on the Breakfast Club, the dude who plays M'Baku, because I can only think of him as M'Baku from Wakanda.
Yeah, the dad in the movie.
Yeah. Like, I can only think of him as that. I listened to him talk, and he's like going through some of the things. He's like, I appreciate it because it depicted, black men in this light, and then, like, Angela Yee made a thing like, well, he can't fight though, and he's like, should every 6'9" black dude have to fight? Do I literally have to prove my manliness by, like,
fighting?
Yeah. It's like, I think, he was a man in every sense of the word, to where he took care of his family. He gave back to his communities, like he loved his wife. He loved and adored his wife. He loved and adored his kids and all this other stuff. And he was kind of explaining kind of a little about the, like, quirky things about the movie. And not to say that she's wrong, because that's definitely, one sense of what it means to be manly, and I can respect it. But I just like that,
his take of, why does that have to be manly? Why you have to pigeonhole manly,
Yeah, why does that have to be the marker for, my ability to take care of my family? Because clearly not everybody is going to be the greatest fighter that ever walked the earth. And even if you do have the physical capabilities of being an absolute beast, as Get Out would put it, like, should that be your role just because you're big? And he's like, to be honest, man, it's such a good thing and a blessing that I'm not that, because there's so many situations in my life that if I was, and I wasn't as,
gotten you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, if I wasn't as articulate as I was, if I wasn't as easygoing in these types of situations, it's easy to get shot. And then Charlemagne makes the comment, like, yeah, if you were making the Ooga Boogas, as the type of dude you are and your stature and stuff, he's like, yeah, easy. Cops shooting you on sight.
Yeah,
sight. So it's like, it just sounds like a movie that I'm going to enjoy. I hate that it's a horror sticker attached to it.
Yeah.
But, like, hey, Get Out wasn't that bad.
As far as horror movies go, it is the top grossing original horror movie for an opening weekend of all time.
Right, and it's gonna be an experience that I feel like I'm gonna be able to walk in and honestly just be like, it wasn't really a horror film. I get why it's in the genre, but it's one of a kind.
Yeah.
This
is another thing about that movie is I'm probably gonna end up seeing that maybe this weekend, only because that is a movie I want to see in a crowded theater. That is a movie that I think the audience will add so much to it, just like Get Out. It felt so like I've watched that movie many times and I've enjoyed it every time, but that first time seeing it in a theater where there was no other people in the theater, or rather not no other people, there was no other seats open in the theater. Everybody openly emoting and enjoying the movie as a whole together just made that whole experience so much better.
Yeah, and it feels like Jordan Peele's little science experiment to a degree. Will this affect people
work
the way I want to? Yeah. So I mean, unfortunately, I'm gonna go see it.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna watch this movie that I very well might give my third 10 out of 10 in a row to.
Right. It's gonna be a good movie. That's like part of the reason. It's just I'm not a big fan of the energy, man.
I understand.
Even after watching Get Out, I was like, actually, I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad that I can relate so well to this movie. I'm a little sad that this is kind of a little bit the story of my life to a degree. Like, I get so many of those situations. So it's like, it's kind of morbid, and even though it's great art and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and I'm glad he was capable of exposing the world to part of what it means to be black in a lot of different ways, in a lot of abstract ways, it felt good. And the guy mentioned, the Mbago dude, mentioned that, like, he's like, that's actually the first time that anybody's coined the black experience in a way that makes sense by calling it the sunken place. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. That was kind of like a cool little thing. So we'll review it. It's just,
But as we said earlier, our next week topic is things coming up in April. I'm sure we'll find some stuff that's coming in the forthcoming months that are going to be exciting. I know there's some animes coming out, so we'll actually have some animes on the list. Yeah. Exciting stuff. Specifically, one guy who likes to punch, man.
Oh, it is coming out? Oh,
yeah,
that's
the second season starts up in like 2 weeks.
That's exciting. That show's amazing. I don't see it in the new episodes on the thing I'm looking at, but
it's it airs the 9th, I think. It's the 9th or 8th or something like that.
I'll be happy again. Well, I'm happy now. I like the season of anime.
Life has been dark.
It's been good, actually. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, it's one of those shows that
it's good, man.
It puts you in a good mood.
Absolutely, it's just an enjoyable trip all the way around. So
I'm gonna start JoJo's. I have to. Like, everybody's like, it's just great, and it's exactly what it says it is. It's an adventure, And I believe Alvin.
I've tried watching JoJo's before. I couldn't really get into it, but maybe I'll try again at some point.
I think I gotta give it a go. Like, I keep meaning to, but it's like,
I like the idea of JoJo more than I actually like JoJo. That's how I felt. I was like, yeah, I love all the memes that come from this. I love that people love JoJo, but I tried watching it and I was just like, I'm not super into this though.
This ain't it. But before we ramble on a little too long, we'll let you guys go. It's been fun. It's been great. It's the Money Match Gaming Podcast. And until next week, my friends.
Yep. Go watch Spider-Man if you haven't. It's the best.
Great movie.